In this video, I'm going to show you how to shrink metal with this machine here, which is a shrinker, but also does stretch as well. So first, show you the basic operation of that. So this is a foot pedal operated version of this, but there are others, hand operated, etc. And this model has two different inserts. It has one for shrinking, and it has these ones for stretching. So you just basically use that Allen up there to remove those, and it even has a little holder for that right there, and just that quick swap over and you change from shrinking to stretching. But in any case, let's look to see how this actually works, what action it has. So I'm going to depress that foot pedal there, and you'll see what happens. So as I do that, it brings those down to grip onto the part that you have in there, and then as you push further, it brings it together. See that action there? And you don't have to go that full way. If you just bring it down and just go a little bit like that, you don't have to depress the entire way. So you can kind of finesse your sheet metal in any way you want to give it a nice bend. Now, there's a number of different ways this can be used, but I'll show you just one example here. So what I have here, this is a piece I'm fabricating to go over my intercooler in my truck. And I have this piece here. I use my shear and then a brake to give it a nice 90-degree bend. But you can see what it's actually going to do. It's going to be a trim piece here. And this piece that it's trying to cover is not flat. I put a nice curve in there. So if I try to match that up there, you can see it doesn't match real well because the sheet metal is straight and that is curved. So what I can actually do, I can come here and I can shrink just a little bit along here, and then that will put a curve along this part, okay? So let's see how that's actually done. So I'm pushing down on the pedal. I'm just going to do this gently because I don't want to go crazy on this. I want a nice gentle curve to this panel. I don't want it to have abrupt transitions. So I'm going to go equal distances, every few inches or so. Just do a little tiny bit. Can always bend more. I mean, you can actually expand it too if you kind of screw up and you go too far, but it's easier just to shrink a little bit at a time and then shrink more if you have to. But you can see here how there's a nice gentle bend to that already. Okay. All right, I have to add just a little bit more curve to match what I need. You can see kind of a further out view of what I'm doing here. And the other nice thing about this one that I have here, I can use panels that actually are a little bit further in because it's got a deeper throat here. Some of these models, they will only do just very shallow shrinking or stretching. I mean, you couldn't do a panel all the way in that. See, it's sort of just gently curving as I do this. Now you do have to keep in mind as you shrink or stretch anything, it does actually deform other parts. So as I'm doing this, it's actually slightly changing this angle here, making this angle just a little bit more pronounced, okay? So just keep in mind every action with a metal modification will have a reaction somewhere else. Kind of see how that is really pretty closely duplicating that curve at this point. I need just a little bit more curve out on the edges here. match that up once more. Okay. Alright, so now I have this piece that's shrunk slightly on this concave portion of the curve. And if I want to get more pronounced, I can keep going there, but the other thing I can do is I can come on the other edge and expand that. So I'll show kind of a real close-up of what that actually looks like. So here's without piece, so it grips on and then pulls apart, so that's expanding or stretching. Okay, and then with the metal in there, see it's going to grip down and then pull apart. And you can go just a little bit like that, or you can go a lot more, but if you go too far, you see how it starts to bend up like that. But again, that's okay, you can hammer and dolly that. But that said, if you go gradual, you're less likely to have as much distortion. And you see how that curve is even more pronounced now. And as another example of how you might use both shrinking and stretching in one piece. So this is a panel I was making for trim. It started off as just a right angle, but then I wanted a curve in it. So I shrunk it on this side and I expanded it on this side. Do that real gently, you get a nice gentle curve. Now I would finish this up so you can get rid of some of those grip marks, etc. But it gives you an idea. There's lots of applications of this tool.